Cool. Serral is going to go for a pool first, actually. So he is being blocked out. DnS's probe got over there, lickety-split. It looks like Serral... Wait. What is Serral doing with that drone? He's looking for another probe?
I think he's waiting for the probe to go check the main to see if it's a 12 pool, and then he's going to take his natural hatch.
Yeah.
You do not want to go pool first and take the third base. So that's just like an absolute no way. So yeah, just wanted to make sure you could get the natural.
I was like, why is it on patrol? But that's just honestly what people do. Same reason like patrol on building before building stuff. So all right.
Well, you know why that is though, right? Like because of the acceleration.
The acceleration, yeah.
I know that split second you save of the unit already moved. You know,
I mean, it feels so professional, right?
I mean, I remember when I was new, I was like, man, I got to make sure my SEV doesn't have to accelerate to build the barracks. Makes actually zero difference at all. If my SEV is standing still and then I build the racks, I mean, I'm basically ready to GG out of here, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Just like if the probe actually messes up my mining on the closest mineral patch, this game is just over. Yeah. It's one of those things that really feels professional. Like it probably does, you know, it does matter when the builds are really tight, like the pros, like this stuff can matter. Hello, DNS, what's that probe? But for us, like, it's just so funny. But it's like when you learn how to worker split, you know, it felt cool. Did it really, you know, boost your games? Not that much. So that was a lot to talk about, nothing much. More importantly, Lings are on the way, and DnS did have to somewhat respond to this. I mean, maybe in a more ideal world, he actually doesn't even make the Zealot, like in a perfect hold type situation, but that would have been a dangerous play for him. So Zealot makes sense into the Adept. He's got a wide open space here to plant whatever technology he wants, which, okay, he started working and then canceled it. So is he still going to, I mean, his gas is really odd just because of the opener, the way it worked out. But there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Start getting the main.
Oh, he's actually going to get the Lynx around on the Zealot, which is really nice. Plus the Micro, he does lose one Ling, but he will get the Zealot kills. So that's nice. One less thing to, you know, plug the hole in the wall with, etc. Serral is on his way to Ling speed. A few more Lings as well. Has to deal with an Adept right in the main base very soon. Yeah, this Adept is going to shade in. So Serral will have to do some dancing with the drones if he wants to make sure he doesn't lose anything. And that's going to be one drone down. This may be number 2. And this is the damage we talked about a little while ago, ZG, where it's like, okay, DnS gets to a good stop, but does it even matter against Serral because it feels like he just negates these advantages so often, and he will get this Adept in the end as well.
Yep. And you also get that perfect scout on top of the Stargate. So, I mean, ZVP, it's not uncommon to have those two Overlords over on either base. So Serral did have his pretty well positioned, sees that it is I think even, yeah, dipped in there to see it's a Phoenix first. So I guess you want to go back in because now we have those options. I mean, it could be triple Oracle, it could be 2 Oracle Phoenix, it could be Void Ray now actually is included in those options more so than ever before. It is just following up with an Oracle, so he's going to be able to clear out 2 Overlords, maybe a third one. Maybe he gets some drones to the Oracle as well, but Serral is just taking this opportunity, seeing a truly non-threatening opener to just drone.
Yep. I mean, as soon as you know it's Stargate, the biggest threat of a Stargate is something like a fast Glaives behind it, right? And then that's when you can't just drone forever. There's going to be double Stargate, so this is just going to be a lot of drones. Double Stargate Phoenix, most likely. A few players have gone double Stargate Oracle every now and again just to mix it up and to really make us question because this Phoenix will get this Overlord. Once that dies, he can continue Stargate production. It's actually kind of a nice time for this Overlord to show up because it does sort of slow DnS from going into that next Stargate unit a little while because he doesn't want to reveal that this is going to be even more Phoenix.
That's a good point. That is a little bit of a delay there. So Serral doesn't know and hasn't really seen anything to indicate that quite yet. So this is the type of thing that is a very powerful snowball, right? Like the Oracles, even if they do get something nice, like 4, 6 drones, like that's cool, but isn't really snowball. That's where Serral can just recover because he has some time. With double Phoenix production, if you do manage to successfully hide it, and you come forward with like 8 Phoenix, that is where the snowball can kind of start. They're planting down Spore Crawlers, they're desperate to get new queens, and they're not quite out yet, and you're actually taking complete control and constantly messing up Serral, as opposed to letting him breathe. So I like the idea a lot. It just feels like whenever this happens too, Serral has actually secretly somehow figured this out, and he's totally fine against it. So definitely don't let those Lings in. Gotta be careful about that. Sees the third base timing. Takes a couple of shots from that Oracle there, but he does live. I think he saw the Robo too, right? He did.
Yeah, this is a very fast robo, right? For going double
Yeah.
Stargates. I guess it's just 6 Phoenix and you just go from there. So kind of a very low commitment to the Stargate units. And just making sure he has defenses up to be able to defend from this point on. I don't see a way you can go across the map with this either, though, right? Because so much of your supply is just in Phoenix. And even if they can lift up a whole bunch of stuff, I'm not sure if there's anything else that'd really be like, oh yeah, let's get across this map. Let's scare Serral a bit. Serral, he's on, 60 workers already. He can just pump units right now until that third base is up for a while.
Oh,
And while
wow.
Serral's actually just going to get aggressive. He's going to put the Nidus down. I do wonder if he tries to Nidus against what he expects to be further Phoenix production, if that's going to work out very well to someone who's actually started making Immortals so early on. But he has, of course, seen the timing of the Robo, so he should be aware of that at least.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about this as well. Like, it seems like DnS, if anything, was the one who's going to set up for an attack. I mean, he's not producing probes, even though his third Nexus is done. He wanted to catch Serral saying, oh, I can get a fourth from this at least. I need to be on the defensive. Thinking about droning and getting up to Hydralis, perhaps. And instead, he's going to find that Serral is like also building a lot of roaches. So we do have two committed attacks hitting each other. And the question is, who does better in this one situation, which you don't see too often. +1's not quite done. The Phoenix do find the Nidus Swarm. That is really nice, actually. It had seen it on the other side of the map, but it can't actually get anything over here to kill it. So that kind of sucks. But at least he has some knowledge. And now shield batteries go down. He's got all of his gateways finished. A third Immortal actually is on the way. Can DnS hold? Serral is bringing so many queens. He's already got Ravagers formed as well. If the shield batteries were done, I'd be feeling a little more hopeful. But right now, I am scared for DnS.
Yeah, I mean, his actual army supply isn't so bad. It really, so much of it comes down to this fight. Obviously, shield batteries would be great if they could get up. Nice first set of force fields here. These queens are quite far forward, so they are going to take a long time to get back to that Nidus if they want to reposition down to the south. And yeah, I mean, this is obviously a bit scary from DnS because he's fighting away from any of the shield batteries that are now finished. Lings run in. I mean, the Phoenix doing a good job lifting some of the queens up. The Oracle's going to try and set a stasis mid-fight. Targeted down, though. As well, the army supplies are still very close. A couple corrosive files get eaten, though. Problem is, these zealots, etc., have no charge or anything, so they are kind of useless. But the Phoenix still alive and still making some good lifts. I'd love to see them just kind of lifting up single Ravagers and like killing them off super quick because they have good damage output against those units.
Right. This is going to be a hold right now. Now, Serral kind of started to drone up as he moved backwards. I thought DnS was overcommitting, and that's what I was scared of. I was scared that he would overcommit and those Lings would really get on top. And it happened, but he still managed to save his Immortals. He still has a lot of production. He, of course, has his third that he's also now building probes for. Like, that was a good situation for DnS at the end of the day. A lot of sentries did go down. That was probably the costless thing about it, and he did replace them, but Serral brought all of his queens forward. He brought a lot of Ravagers forward, and of course, he had done this off of not a spectacular drone count. So DnS finds himself in a more curious position than most other Protosses against Serral. Can he actually continue forward and do something to win here? Still a big question mark. It still is. He actually has on a robotics base, so it's not like he's going to have some immediate follow-up that can punish Serral for that. No, it's going to go into a longer game.
Yeah, I do honestly feel as these Lings hit the third base, if he had the shield batteries up right away, I actually would have just felt 100% confident for DnS, but he had the setup to defend something like that, right? You said it before. He cut the probes. He was building a lot of gates. He started Immortal production early. Like, all the signs were in the right sort of place. It was just scary that he moved forward away from shield batteries, and obviously it's Serral attacking, because Serral doesn't often make bad attacks. So, yeah, it was kind of a cool defense. It's definitely worked out in DnS's favor, and now he's getting all of that tech up, and that's going to be his advantage, being able to get all this tech on the field while on the same worker count as Serral. So Serral doesn't have that kind of boom in economy, and he's still just massing Roach Ravager. He's going to start going into Water Hive, and I guess maybe get some Vipers up. He's actually going to add the Hydra Den as well, so maybe there's some plans, maybe Lurkers in the future. But as it stands right now, Serral's army is just not looking hot against 4 Immortals.
He's not. I think Serral is just trying to shark around to keep DnS on his toes. I don't think he expects to win, even though he's playing on the Nidus Worm. I feel like that's just a 50-50 scare tactic. And the real thing is that, he's getting up to Hive, he's getting up to Lurkers. So it's unfortunate, though, because DnS, even if he saw that army, right, he sees it, he goes, okay, it's not that large. You can't really engage. I mean, he just got pseudo-punished for that on the defense. Because if he hadn't gone forward a little bit more, maybe it would have been an even better hold. So he doesn't really push out into the concave. He does a little bit, and that might be what bites him in the butt. Some roaches grab on top into sentries, but with 3 Immortals, 4 Immortals actually, and a Colossus now. And the shield batteries, of course, too. It looks like DnS is going to hold, but Serral constantly threatening with that concave is giving him all this safety back at home. He's on 5 bases now, going up to a lurker den.
Yeah, that's the terrifying thing, that Serral is in control of the game. You know, he's saying, right, you stay right here, and I'm just going to do what I want back at home. And this is where the game's escape plays a lot of the time when they're playing against Serral, because you feel like you're in a good spot, and then Serral keeps on pressuring. You feel like you've got to defend, and the next thing you know, Serral's like on tech you never even really imagined. And, you know, the army of DnS inherently isn't bad against lurkers, but if the lurker's set up right outside where, like, this Pro Tour army is now, you're not going to be able to fight through that choke point to kill the lurkers off. And then how do you ever get out to a 4th base? Well, maybe you take the one on the top side, but then the lurkers are going to strike your 3rd if you move too far away. And it just feels like Serral's position is something he's using as such a big advantage at this stage to pull himself back from what should have been a really, really tough spot. And it still is tough. I mean, he's only just now really opening up a working difference, or really opening up the economy. And as the first lurkers take to the field, it'll still be a while before their hive upgrades kick in.
True, true, true. But already almost halfway down to the range upgrade, the most important one, although Speed Bro is also very, very nice to have. And Serral, I believe, is kind of scared of this army. He recognizes its power, but he has a lot of time to size it up in position. And that's all that pressure he was just doing. So you're right, DnS feels the need to defend because, yeah, he can't comfortably push out against that army into a concave. Now that he finally can, it's 2 minutes later, and Serral has done Serral things and gotten to another good army, a better army than his pure Road Ravager, right? Because while the army suppliers would typically favor DnS, we're now talking about lurkers with that range upgrade, now working on the Speed Bro. And Serral's even trying to buy more time. I mean, this Phoenix has been really cool scouting all of this, but Serral is still using these roaches in a way I think he would like to. Is it great if they get 10 probes? Yes, but is it great that they pull the army back? That is also great.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Vipers on the way up, it's looking like this game's going to start going a little bit longer here, CG. Can I just forfeit the prices right now? I feel like I'm already losing.
I think you are, yeah.
He was meant to die to the attack, right? Like, my entire strategy's falling apart with that hold, as DnS is actually making his way on a creep, so we might have a bit of a larger fight. It's happening sooner than expected, really. I was kind of expecting DnS to hang back a bit. I don't mind this, though. Just sitting on creep and clearing out some of the control, right? Picking off tumors and forcing the lurkers to relocate a few times. But I love this as well from Serral. Just using this Nidus from earlier in the game offensively. I mean, DnS has no response to that right away. And he's supply blocked. He can't warp in anything against it. Yeah,
good point. Needs another pylon or two. Nidus Worm looks like it did finally get some stalkers on top of it, but the Speed Burrow is done. And those lurkers are just like, later nerds. Yeah. The stalkers couldn't do anything about that. This is so frustrating. This actually takes quite a lot of effort to clean up. You want to try and get a concave, you want to make sure it's enough units. And then on top of that, I'm scared of DnS's position. Usually I'd be like, okay with you. I'd be like, yeah, high ground, clear up some creep. But because those Vipers are out and it doesn't have any feedback, I'm worried that Serral is about to go ahead and just grab 3 Colossus before DnS can respond, because clearly a lot of attention is going on the high ground in the main base. Another Nidus Worm as well. I don't know, DnS. I think you could fail on both fronts if you actually push into this.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, like you were saying, that Serral hasn't made use of the Vipers during the lurker harassment, because that seems like such a Serral thing to do, right? Lurker harassing the main, and then you actually just, you know, suddenly you call the Colossi, and DnS's army just falls apart from there. Now Serral's just sending a ton of Ravagers into this main base, and I mean, the lurkers have already done so much, still not cleaned up properly. And now the Ravagers are going to start picking their way through production. DnS is almost all in across the map with this army. If he doesn't do something good with this, he's in serious trouble for how much he's losing back at home.
Right, yeah. By not taking it super seriously in the first place, I mean, he did allow the second Nidus Worm to get up there. And this is something that Serral can do, because those lurkers and the numbers they currently are, he's going up to 14. And he's also getting some decent upgrades for them. He can leave those at home and at least take an okay fight, you know, but it probably just won't happen because DnS will respect the lurkers and the blinding clouds way too much. So yeah, DnS, it's like, you know, hindsight 2020, it sucks, it really does, but he really should have gone back first and foremost, clean this up, and perhaps set up for a really long game, like getting a Dark Shrine and, I mean, maybe from the Fleet Beacon. Instead, he wanted to do this push. He really, really did. And it didn't work. It even cost him his main base. He's back down to 3 bases, but he also lost so much technology and production in the main.
Stalker's blinking up. It even feels like, yeah, they're going to maybe get the cleanup, and Ravagers are expensive, but how much did he lose? I mean, never mind the main base, but even just units here as well. Serral's just pushing at the same time. Now the Yoinks are going to come in, and the Colossi are all going to go down. The lurkers, yep, every single one. there is mostly only lurkers here, but problem is it's like almost purely stalkers as well, and stalkers just melt to the lurker fire. So this isn't pretty. Base is in range of lurker shots, and yeah, this is Serral playing out of a tough position and making it work. And I mean, that's just what Serral is very good at doing.
Yep. DnS has a bit of an arc here, but it's not going to be enough. Even with 6 Immortals, it really isn't too bad. It's just way too many lurkers. That is a line of lurkers right there. GG.
The lurkers. The lurkers are just like sat there like killing everything, like lurker spine after lurker spine. You're right, it wasn't a bad arc. There was a good amount of Immortals. There just wasn't the buffer, right? To start, like, you know, there wasn't that round of charge loss that go in and sacrifice themselves to give the Immortals like a first few kills. There wasn't the storm to soften up so the Immortals are two-shotting. And yeah, just Serral played a great game from being in a weird position after that fight, absolutely, and DnS having an advantage. He made the game his own. He sat out the front. He made the DnS afraid to move out. And then the Nidus play when DnS did move out, like, he just had an answer for anything that DnS did. I mean, it's Serral, right? It's just Serral making other players look worse than they are.
I was gonna say, but other things happened. About after the Nidus Swarm, basically after we retreated and kind of calmed down, I was like, man, I actually kind of wish that DnS had made a Warp Prism second. He had one Colossus, and he was worried about like the roaches, but a Warp Prism maybe, but he didn't have charge, so I don't know. But the point is, like, he didn't have anything on Serral's side of the map, and I saw it coming a mile away. I was like, okay, this is when Serral doesn't get bothered, and he just drones, and he builds all the right things, and he is still in control of the game, even though it was actually not that great of an attack. Like, that is the Serral thing, and it must be so frustrating to play against. Because DnS was supposed to be in the better position. He could have been in the best position had he used those shield batteries and maybe a few more as well on the actual defense, but he was still in a good one, and yet he still didn't end up winning that game. He still felt super pressured despite his advantage.
Serral factor. Feels like Serral gets 2 lives in every single game he plays, right? You know, you get ahead the first time, he's got life number 2. He revives. He's the final boss. He's got phase 2. He's even scarier. He's more powered up. He's got all the buffs. It's terrifying.
Yeah. I don't know how Ice and Chrome is really going to go that differently. I mean, it's unlikely that Serral even puts himself in that position again. You know, he saw an opportunity. He thought he saw an opportunity to end the game quickly. You know, he's working on, you know, being the ultimate killer here. It actually wasn't the chance. So now you might just be facing a Serral who plays more normal, more macro, more defensive, and just absolutely clobbers you. So DnS, once again, he's got to be the one to mix things up. In the bottom left, as the Red Protoss down 1, it is DnS.
And in the top right-hand side, our blue Zerg from NC Sports is Serral.
The spikes.
Serral is just like, you know what, Wardy, I don't want you to do my intro. I'd rather have CG do it. So I'm just going to pause at the worst possible time. Yeah, I actually, when the game started, I got kind of excited because I saw that Serral didn't make a drone right away. I was like, oh, is he up a 12 pool? And then it's like, he made the drone at like 3 seconds deep. So yeah, maybe a little bit laggy. Looks like they're going to try and see if the lag is a little bit better. And we'll be able to get into this second game, hopefully, in just a few moments' time. DnS says that the spikes are maybe just a handicap to make the matchup fair. So just some words of wisdom from the players. Maybe StarCraft is balancing itself now.
Does he mean that matchup as in him versus Serral, or does he mean PvP?
Yeah, I mean, I read it initially as him versus Serral, but now I'm like, maybe it's, you know, actually just straight up balance whining on the stream. Now I feel bad for Reed now. I'm promoting his agenda, I guess.
His agenda. All right, looks like it is fixed. It's okay. So let's get back in the game. Serral is once again going to go for a pool first. He'd love to grab the natural. He's gonna actually make it work. Make it work.
Yeah, he doesn't fake going out to the third, right? So it's a nice pylon block because he's actually going to take a gas now, Serral, as well. I like the pylon block because it is pool first, and like I say, you really do not want to take that third because the third's already like a bit of an eco advantage. So you pile that on top of the pool first, and you really are just like further behind than you want to be. So yeah, Brook gets back there to block again, so still no natural, and Serral does just take the third hatchery. But yeah, this is the result you're kind of looking for here. As DnS in the early game, that's another result on our screen from the B stream. Hellraiser 2-0 over Gyarados. No surprises there.
Yeah. Well, Serral is going to make a few lings, going to clear everything up, and will, as I think, expect going into the macro game. So DnS, what is he going to do? He's got to respond once again to the pool first, even though it's not an aggressive pool first. It's not something that's going to also have speed following it up or 20 more lings on the way. Still got to take it seriously. But I'm wondering if he's ever going to try and take advantage of the adept shenanigans that happen now. It feels like Serral's one of those guys who's figured it out. He hasn't died with it anymore, but it also feels like it is still one of the stronger options to start things off. This is kind of awkward. This is extremely awkward. Ooh, where's the Zealot?
Yeah, the Zealot is around, and Serral will respect that and pull the other lings away, but he will get one ling up into the main. And that's just some scouting information. Boom, straight in as the Stargate goes down. Serral knows what's up early, and basically just says, cool, I can just do that thing I did in the last game where I just drone for a little while and put myself into a good eco position, because there's very little harassment you can put on the map. You know, the most I have to deal with here, a couple of adepts.
Right, exactly. Even if his lane didn't get into the main, you would have seen all the timings with this Overlord of the warp gates. So he was pretty good to go, but it's always nice to get that in there. And yeah, as you said, just drone macro up and double check what the follow-up is. Because again, we have seen more Void Rays. DnS already showed one double Stargate build, and now we're on Ice and Chrome, which has really become the interesting map, I feel, of the build order choices, the compositions. Obviously, Submarine's interesting, and Golden was very interesting, but Ice and Chrome, we see Terrans on it, we actually predict mech. Ice and Chrome, we see Protoss is on it versus Zerg. It seems actually kind of popular to go into that very, very quick Sky Toss option. Although I don't think it'll work against Serral, I do think it is one of the different options you can try to throw him off with.
Oracle gonna pop out. Not sure if there's anything really too spectacular gonna happen from DnS here, right? Just multiple Oracles. You think there's any possibility it goes up to 3 Oracles? Yeah, it's
I think so.
Really, yeah, it's not really the best map for it, but it's not a bad style in general. A lot of pressure you can apply from the Stargate, keep your third base very safe. Zep's just gonna commit for a few of these drones, but there's 3 Queens, multiple lings. Obviously with the Oracle here, the Queens have to go focus on those on the Oracle, but even still, only 2 drones go down. Both the Adepts die. Yeah, it's less than ideal, I'd say.
Doesn't even really catch drones transferring, which you always hope for. That is going to be a terrible option. Yeah, good thing instantly canceled. That's a bit spiky. The second Oracle is here, but it is into a Phoenix. Maybe following up with that Robo. And all right, so no super quick second Stargate option this time. Perhaps just a normal macro game. I mean, every time I feel like I've seen DnS against a Zerg that I'm a little scared of, like I feel DnS versus Zerg hasn't exactly been his best matchup at any point. I feel like as opposed to some other Protosses who feel the desperation to go for an all-in or do the cheekier current meta thing. Oh, okay, this is pretty nice.
Finally,
he has gone for
real
macro
damage. Finally, some real damage from DnS, because this is going to be a Queen and even more drones. This has turned into a disaster from Serral.
Oh.
Wow, I mean, that's something you don't see happen against Serral very often. Oh, 9 drones and a Queen. Plus the 2 drones from earlier, and you're talking about 11 dead drones this game, and this is a big advantage from DnS. And this is something that maybe he can run into a very good follow-up from this point on. And Serral getting that road drawing up and running. He's got a lot of gas, Serral, right now. No lair down. I wonder if there's anything planned. Okay, there's a lair down. If it was getting to that kind of borderline, you need to build a lair. Otherwise, I'm kind of convinced you're all in. So
right.
Just go down.
Wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit delayed because of what just happened there. That was definitely not supposed to happen. It did throw him off, and he was concerned with trying to take it down, which he did not do. Second Oracle is still alive, although very weak. Third Oracle will be able to join up. And this is a neat macro game for DnS. He will be able to play out into maybe a +1 attack, see what he can do there, as he will have plenty of scouting with his current setup. But now we, again, question, what about the Serral effect? Does he get a second life here? He's going to be okay. He's building a lot of Overlords, so... Is he...
I mean, that's
attack,
like...
Is he?
It's kind of weird, right? No,
That
because
was like 6 Overlords.
Yeah, it's just like he's making more space than he would ever need for Roaches. So I feel like he's just a little bit thrown off this game in general. I mean, DnS coming across the map right now. This is in theory a really difficult attack for Serral to hold because he lost so much economy early. He doesn't really have that much to defend at this point, right? Like, what's he really got on the map? Like 5 roaches building, he'd be on 8 in total. I mean, I guess DNS's army isn't exactly huge either, but part of that is because he's still teching up into like a temple archives, etc. You know, if he'd wanted to, he maybe could have built a few more units and been aggressive right now, but he'll not, he'll hang back. I mean, that does just scare me because, again, it's exactly the sort of situation that Serral finds himself getting back from behind in so often.
Yeah, it's the more normal attack, waiting for +1, charge, War Prism, and some Archons. And that could still be difficult for Serral to hold. But I'm with you. Like, if DNS had been consistently warping off of 2 gateways, maybe has a few more units, if he had chronoed out a War Prism, it's one of those pushes that is weak if they're prepared, but because of the timing of it, can be very strong. And with Serral losing those drones, it might have done something. But waiting just these extra, half a minute has given Serral that time to A, predict a timing like this is the more normal one, and then B, actually prepare for it. So he's up to 67 workers. They're even on that economy. DNS would love to bop that 4th hatchery, but he's got to get past what should be at least a couple of Ravagers. Not a very convincing count, though. Actually, just 4.
Yeah. That's a pretty low Ravager count indeed, isn't it? As you see the hallucination trying to give him a little bit of a heads up as to what's going on. He'll get a couple of creep tumors. And he's taking the 4th base behind it. He doesn't necessarily have to fight here, but again, it's the question of if you don't, maybe again, are you letting Serral do too much? Or are you letting Serral just get away with his own game? I mean, Serral now is only just about to hit roach speed. He makes a big round of drones. He starts a hive, and well, I feel like DNS's push has still accomplished a fair bit. He has his 4th base cancelled behind it. Serral didn't waste too much time going into drones as soon as he could. That hive's now coming up, and I feel like again to a very similar stage of the, as we had in the last game, only maybe DNS a bit better set up overall for it, but I'm still kind of like a little shaky about it.
I'm with you. If DNS starts harassing and gets a War Prism in the main, some Zealots to the right side, as well as threatening in the middle, and dealing with any run-bys that Serral can do, of course, like then I'm like, oh yeah, this is the perfect setup for that. But if DNS really just only does, move out to creep, clean up creep, and that's it, Serral's gonna get everything that he wants, and then that's when we're scared of Serral. But DNS is gonna get to a 4th base finally. It was canceled, but not like it was too far along, and his army is quite good. But man, it sucks that he couldn't do a bit more with that push out. He really had to respect Serral, and now we're in a later stage of the game. So lurkers will be coming out. Seems to be, I don't know if the Zergs agreed to stop using Banelings because they're getting bored of using Banelings or what, but lurkers seem to be more common in the past, like, literal week than before.
Yeah, just styles changing perhaps. As you see, DNS is going to do what DNS loves to do. He's going to add 2 Stargates. He's going to go to the Fleet Beacon, and this is very DNS kind of like, right, where he just plays into the much later game. He's not a player to kind of jump on opportunities and end the game. If he if he feels like he can, he'd much rather just take an advantage and run with it. It's just, I didn't feel like that was maybe going to be the way he approached against Serral. But here we are, 10 minutes deep. Next Stargates and Fleet Beacon about to finish, and Storm and +2 being done means he's at least got some good upgrades if some fights do break out. Obviously, we're imagining that Serral's going to get pretty aggressive here with the lurkers getting their upgrades up and running. And that can obviously be great while there's a lot of carrier count on the map.
This is not the full might of DNS's army. He's got a lot of Zealots in the main base. That was quite a large warp in, and he's building those carriers back at home. But it looks like Serral's doing a decent job of responding to the main, as well as doing some of his own harassment, forcing a recall, as DNS, I think, was not just scared of the roaches, but also didn't want to be paying attention to 3 places at once, because Serral does have this army coming through the middle, and he wanted to be able to actually watch his army get those force fields down. So now we're up to 3 carriers on the way, +1 already well underway. Serral is going to have to, I think, respect that late game. I don't think it looks like he's setting up for a way to kill DNS right here, right now. So is his plan just to use those Vipers to abduct those carriers, or will we see his fire?
Yeah, I mean, right now that's his only plan, right? And that is, again, there's a lot of things that worry me on both sides of this game, I guess, right? I feel like if this was any other Zerg, I'd be way more worried about these carriers right now, but I can only imagine that Serral, as good as he is, I believe he's got something of a plan to deal with this. He believes he doesn't need to do anything about it just yet. But, I mean, after this first round of carriers, 3, I feel is manageable. When you get to, like, 6 carriers, that's when you really need to have a proper answer for them. And we're not far away from that right now, as these lurkers are going to hold this position beautifully, though, and Obviously, at the same time, Serral's knocking on the front door of that third base.
It's kind of terrifying for DnS. You might be like, well, why is he attacking from that angle? But if he goes over the left, like, then he doesn't have any type of concave. But he has carriers, and if he just waits a couple more seconds, he's using the stack defense to buy him more time. He's trying to do some form of harassment. Like, yeah, he's going to have enough carriers to beat back this army, even if there were a couple of Vipers. So finally, we see Serral throw down double Spire once those upgrades. A bit less worried about ever getting a greater Spire, except for the upgrades. And, yeah, it's true on late game, but Serral has shown that he thrives also in this portion. We're talking early, mid, late, and super late. Serral has done well in every single one.
Yeah, just keeping the pressure up here is so nice as well. But again, behind it, I know that DnS has got those carriers, and I'm still waiting for them to come into play. So you can't really take this little position here from Serral for granted. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that he's pushing even further in. He's really kind of pushing 50 right now, but the carriers are going to show up, and that should just be an easy cleanup. And Serral agrees, so he backs out of there to try and save what he can. But he just keeps the lurker count going.
Yeah, that was a bit odd. He might be thinking that the carrier count wasn't going to be that large, that fast. Maybe it was only being 2 produced at a time, but... And DnS was being awfully shy with them as well. So, yeah, maybe thought he had opportunity, but pulls back and now has... What situation are we in? Serral might have gotten to a decent number of base, a decent number of drones, but his bank actually isn't super convincing. There haven't been a lot of fights. You know, and DnS also got a pretty fast setup on 4 bases despite that one cancel. So we're not talking about an extreme bank that Serral gives away his army and then remaxes on 20 corruptors. That actually is a bit of an issue right now. How does he deal with a mothership and 6 carriers?
Yeah, it's I think it's the kind of the roll back around to what happened earlier, right? This is Serral's disadvantage going into this stage of the game, that he wasn't on the insane economy all this time. So you don't just get to rebuild and go again and again and again. And so, yeah, what the heck do you do about these carriers? Well, I actually really don't know. I guess right now he's trying to work his way around multiple directions and fight different places, but I mean, that only really worked for so long. He's killing his own units quite frequently. He killed his own Ravager before, and I think he just killed his Lurker. Or misclicks maybe from Serral. That it seems so weird if that's intentional, because it's been different units.
Right.
You see this army on the right side gets cleaned up on the left side. It's going to be a recall to clean up the Zerg army as well. So Serral is just finding 0 openings.
But he is once again keeping DnS at home. Looks like the harassment has stopped for a little while as DnS, well, he's actually maxed out. It's kind of the problem. And that gave Serral the time to go from a 1,000 bank to more of like a 3,000, 2,000. So that's why we see 15 corruptors. It was literally that minute that he was just doing not much. He was at least getting the option of going into 15 corruptors and also making room for it. So this is looking like a better army, especially with all the upgrades on the way. So Serral's finishing up 3-2 for his Hydras and his Lurkers. He's even getting Burrow for more harassment options in the future. 1-1, obviously, with double Spire, and then Spellcasters. So we got some Vipers out, and we have some Infestors. But I love what DnS is doing as well. I mean, of course, get to the DTs, get to the DT Blink, continue on upgrading them with the shields as well to affect the air. I mean, this is really late game. And who's going to be the better controller, I guess? Who's going not necessarily take the most amazing fight? Oh, those DTs were sad. Oh,
yeah.
But who can control it so that when the fight is taken, it's more awkward for one person or another.
Yeah, that's what Serral is so good at, right? You know, he can make worse positions better because he's so good at position. He knows where he wants to fight. Right now, DnS is the one that's pressing forward, though. I mean, Serral shouldn't be worried about this because he has so many spores here. The Corruptors are there. This is the kind of position you just don't break as DnS. A good initial response from Serral, as whatever it was top right gets denied as well. We really are just entering super late game because even, you know, DT Blink is on the way up, so DnS adding extra harassment options on. And Serral is even thinking about the possibility of adding a few Broodlords at some point as well with that Greater Spire. Of course, always nice if you've got a few Corruptors left over, there's nothing left in the skies, may as well get some Broods. And the Broods can in general just be good at zoning out units from moving too far forward toward an army as well.
Right. I have a question for you, Morty. Do you think we see A, Microbial Shroud, B, the Tempest attack, or C, both for D-Niter? You say D?
Yeah, I don't think we see. Maybe
yeah,
Microbial Shroud, no.
It happened. It happened, what, 2 days ago?
It does happen. It's so hard to say because it kind of depends on how the game continues, right? Because like right now, there's no need for any of those. Obviously, Serral might get to a point where he wants to stalemate a bit harder with Infestors, and then it might not be bad to drop a couple of Microbial Shrouds, but if we get to that point, I don't think he's got much of a ground army left over anyway. Maybe just to support some lurkers.
Yeah.
I think the better question is, do I think any of those upgrades are going to be influential? Or any of those abilities are going to be influential on the fights? No. Or in the game? No. Like, we might see them, but will they actually change how the game's going? I really don't think.
Ah, that's a good answer. I saw the spore crawlers and I was like, maybe. But yeah, that one maybe was a bit of a missed the mark a little bit from Blizzard. The spore crawlers that are on the middle left of Serral's side of the map actually aren't the real threat, even though they are helping. So I don't think DnS is going to try and tear them down with a very specific ability with the unit he doesn't really want to include. He wants his carriers and he wants his Oracle Revelation. So yeah, still that standard late game PVZ who ultimately has the better army that can be in question. Right now, Serral has done exactly what he should do, which is picking them off when given the opportunity. And DnS has to always be paying attention for those feedbacks. They got that extra range. They're now pretty good against that, but you gotta always be paying attention.
Like this lone lurker just left behind. Up a little bit of damage here and there. A little bit of harassment top left, getting a few drones as well. And you double Immortal, which at this stage Immortals don't really have much of a role to play, so it's not actually that risky to go flying your War Prism and 2 Immortals around, because if you lose the the Prism is like the most valuable part of that anymore. When the Prism goes down, the Immortals will go down again. Not really anything lost there. The harassment is good to get. At least to trade those units out. As CT is going to show up in the main. Only really Queen's here to defend this, so actually do okay. And at the same time, DnS is really hitting everywhere, and he's hitting this bottom right. So this is nice because he is pulling Serral in some different directions. Good multi-pronged from DnS. This was a good, successful minute and a half or so from him.
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. There is one lurker here to defend, which is going to take a little while to clean up all of those zealots, especially as they get a wrapper on the hatchery. Drones are going down. Hatcheries are going down. Serral is replacing any lost army with more corruptors. So we'll be up to 31 corruptors and 3 vipers against 13 carriers, a mothership, and not even any archons anymore. They seem to have been traded out, so just the high templars. We got some void rays in the mix, so we should see flux veins as well, although I do wonder if it's one of those upgrades that kind of it should make them better, but because they're faster, they clump up more and they get away from your army. So it's like one of those, oh, do you actually get it? We'll see. But I like the option. It just, how many times have we seen Void Rays really be the kicker, right? I want to see it this game.
Well, Infestors are on the way up as well from Serral, and I really do imagine that those are, a few fungal growth that can go a long way. He's not made any investment into Neural Parasite yet, and I don't think he really wants to get the Infestor count up to make Neural Parasite good either. But yeah, I really like what DnS has done, really going one way then the other, and it kind of forces Serral to just play one side of the map, right? Where he's probably not really expecting to get the bottom right up and mining the game properly. So he's just going to have to like defend and play around the top left, and eventually, once that mine's out, then start to play around the bottom right side of the map.
Ice and Chrome is fun for these super late games. Like it really does have that partition, the your side and my side, and then a little bit of the riskiness on the edges and extreme edges. So they're both pretty much safe on their beginning 4 bases, their 5th and their 6th. But as they reach out to their 8th, basically. So in a late game like this, that's when things are a little contested. And if someone were to take your 8th, that's actually could be a big deal. If it goes that late into the game, we're finally having one of our bigger fights here. Voiders are included, dramatically aligned. Lurkers trying to take out those high Templars. They're trying to get the feedbacks. We're down to 2 Vipers, 1 Viper, 31 Corruptors that don't really want to tango with those Void Rays. They're waiting for the alignment to be on cooldown, and that is going to force a recall, actually. A couple of parasitic bombs were in there as well, dealing lots of damage, but the Corruptors, I think they really had to respect those Void Rays. Yeah,
there was a fight where actually Serral just did nothing, right? Like, you didn't put any damage out onto this army. Like, a couple of parasitic bombs, so you took away some shields, but that was it. This is an amazing fight for DnS, and if this game is going to continue like that, Serral's just never going to kill anything. Like, he really just made no attempt to fight that, which, again, I understand the prismatically aligned voids. They are terribly scary. It's something you definitely want to shy away from, as these Zealots are going to shut down this hatchery on this right side. And man, DnS really making plays in this game. ZG, I feel like he's listened to our pre-show and he's like, let's just make them look as silly as possible. Because if he is going to end up beating Serral here, he's going to do it in pretty much the most epic way possible.
I appreciate it, man. Way to go, DnS. This was that War Prism, unfortunately, to the Corruptors. You're in the right place at the right time. Serral lost all of his Lurkers in that fight, so he lost 24 Lurkers over the course of the game. I did wonder if he was going to replace them, but I actually like just replacing a few, He also now has Broodlords to, like, in combination, will take out the feedbacks and the storms on the ground, right? And if there's, like, any Archons or something like that. Because that can still be, like, an annoyance there. But, of course, at this point, we're talking majority about that air. Can the Voiders really do their job? Like, it seems like they've been missing for the past couple of years. Both of them are almost fully upgraded, by the way. Serral fully upgraded on air, and then DnS finishing up his armor. Harassment's not really going anywhere for Serral. DnS invested very early on in a lot of static defense and then covered it too. He had Immortals with the cannons at one point. Now he has Storms with the cannons, or just a mass amount of shield batteries. And DnS is still trying to harass. It's not so much about that. It really is like who takes the better fight. How do you take a better fight? And I like Serral's army a little bit more now that he has those Broodlords and more Vipers and more Infestors.
Well, I mean, at some point another fight has to break out. I just do not feel good about that for Serral as the Storm to take out the Changelings. I mean, you know, God forbid DnS has to click more than 4 times in a row.
Right.
Yeah, that was especially when there's like nothing around too.
Yeah, I meant that I like Serral's army better than the previous one. If it's better than DnS's army, that's in question.
Yeah, no, for sure. His army's only gotten better as the game goes by. It's just obviously so has DnS's. DnS gets to the point where like his army just can't possibly get better anymore. There's a nice catch, getting rid of a bunch of voids for free. I mean, any sort of pickup like that's only going to help, right? And I mean, look at resources lost, 4,000 difference. Obviously, the big part of that is if they can still, you know, continue to mine this sort of, or continue to trade like this, and you can deny a base of your opponent from ever going up, then that's obviously a way to win this game. But eventually, you still have to trade effectively, and I just don't know how you trade efficiently with Serral's army against this Protoss with the massive carriers.
You know what it is? DnS might have listened to the pre-show, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to show these nerds that I'm good. It was, I'm finally going to give Wardy a good day of games.
Yeah.
This is gift to you.
This is the one awesome game, and everything else is like 2-0 again. I'm not a believer just yet. Nice from the left-hand side. I think it really is important that Serral never lets this base go up. As long as DnS is mining the bottom, he shouldn't be able to mine the top as well. It's just too difficult to split your army to defend that. So Serral doing a good job making sure DnS is not mining the base, which he shouldn't be allowed to mine. And like I say, maybe if you can keep that base from ever mining, maybe that's your way to eventually win this game out with a few good trades along the way. Of course, you do need to mine from your own base on that right side at the same time, and that's going to be denied by a DT for just a little bit longer, as it has been a while in setting up this base since it was last killed.
Yeah. Honestly, Serral's bases seem pretty vulnerable, but DnS always has to choose between a decent number of harassing units or just like having a fully maxed out army. So it's not really been a lot about harassment, but notably Serral has not had a lot of defenses. His lurkers are not being used to defend. They are coming with the army most of the time. Speaking of the army, Broodlords are finally getting into the action, cleaning up some cannons. DnS doesn't need to be concerned. He's actually taking this opportunity to move over to the left side, which, I mean, it's taking him so... If he was already here and he's moving, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But it's taking him so long. I feel like he's just going to lose a base and then not get anything in return. Maybe he just really wants to go to the left. All right, well, Serral doesn't even get the base. He's moving.
Yeah, I think Serral knows, though, that obviously DnS is going elsewhere. Like, not getting the base is obviously a bit of a mistake, but being here to defend your own bases might even be just, you know, even more important, as that's going to be a recall out, and he's going to go back down the bottom side where these Hydras and lurkers are attempting to get this base finished off. So yeah, I mean, this is important for Serral. Like, again, it's nice if he gets that base, but if you lose your own bases on the top side, you lose some very important mining. If a fight happens, you're not ready to remax, that's obviously very troubling.
Yeah. One thing we haven't super touched on is that Serral's, you know, at 48 workers, so he does have a consistently higher army supply. Really, truly, where Zerg would want to be. They want to remax faster, have a bigger economy faster, and then at some point, they need to consider that their army is a little weaker, so they need a bigger army. So Serral got to that point. He had the economy. Now he's cut it. He still has a big bank. He's allowed one mistake. That's what his bank can you know, replace. But he really needs to try and actually win a fight. So 20 more army supply is going to help him push him over the edge, as there's nothing else really to consider. I mean, all the upgrades are done for both parties, and they've both pretty much gotten to their final form of late game CVP. So I guess it's more of a question of how do the spellcasters work out, of which Serral does have plenty. Still no attempt on a Neural Parasite, not even bothering to get that. Nothing fancy like a Nidus or Maling run buys, just good old-fashioned late game. Finally grabs that Nexus. It's the third attack there. And he's going to lose his far right hatchery for it.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, DnS is getting that top left side up though, right? And again, I think it's a base he shouldn't maybe really be allowed to get up. But he's going to be able to do it because he's taken so much of the attention to the bottom right, and Serral's not able to get there. So, yeah, again, at the same time, you lose a base as DnS, but it's going to rebuild right away. And yeah, this may very well just come down to a battle of the spellcasters. You know, can Serral get enough Viper abducts ahead of time and trade out with a lot of this army? I mean, obviously, that's kind of tough no matter what still, because we're kind of in a position here where DnS has so much money in the bank, he can rebuild pretty much anything that Serral takes. If it's just kind of chipping away, you kill 5 carriers, and they're going to rebuild, and DnS won't really notice it, so...
Right, yeah. That is a large bang for the Protoss as well. I like that Serral's paying attention to his drone count, even though it looks like he's at that point of like, oh, I just need to focus on army. No, he did replace about 7 drones, so it seems like 45 is about where he wants to be, and not going to slip into the 20s accidentally. DnS, I mean, he might not replace these probes he just lost. I think that would actually be the smart thing to do. Maybe get a carrier in there instead. Got some abducts going on. The Broodlords, they only can take out the High Templars. They can't help very much anything else. A good abduct on that mothership. Goodbye 400, but not really the big engagement.
The Broodlords did get a few High Templar, though, which is nice, because that might even, if nothing else, dissuade DnS from taking a fight right there. You know, if you don't have as many storms as you were initially banking on. So that can be a pretty big deal, as obviously Serral sitting out with some spores under his army in the center. DTs are going elsewhere, and they're slowly picking away at some of these really important tech units as well. Like, I mean, you get rid of this Credit Spire. Can't build any more Broods. Again, obviously, Broods aren't super useful right now, but it is something you would like the chance to go back into just in case, right? So, yeah, lots of little DT harassments here and there from DnS, and those for him, obviously, with 10k, 7k in the bank, feel very cheap, feel very free almost. In the end, Broodlings actually end up defending this as the Spires go down.
Yeah, but Serral's going to have to be worried about that. I mean, you don't... this could theoretically go into a game where you actually do abandon ship on your main. We've seen crazy games like that, but I would say that generally don't want to do that. So Serral maybe want to include a couple of spine crawlers. I think they both have to recognize that they're at a point where they're not really sending 12 DTs or 16 Zealots, something like that, across the map, but still, protection is necessary. And now, maybe finally the long siege. Nope, DnS is like, I'm not taking that fight. Moves over to the right. The only thing I would say for DnS is that I would love some units maybe to clear up the middle spore crawlers, just like, well, we have the chance. But again, that would be 7 Zealots out of his main army supply, so this is not going to do it.
Serral didn't actually finish the base in the top left. He left, could have done with one more round of Broodlings to drop onto it, so a little bit of a mistake there once again, leaving the base alive. Serral is, I mean, obviously you've got to be worried about this big kind of army elsewhere. You don't want to spend too long killing the top left. You want to make sure you're back in position on the bottom right in time, but yeah, it just seems to be non-stop. At least there's a lurk here to finish this off this time. Looks like the lurker will get the job done. I gotta say, Serral has traded much better than DnS recently. He was kind of a DnS advantage in units lost, and now it's a Serral advantage. And if that keeps up and they both mine out, of course, that typically ends up being in Serral's favor then. So yeah, that's again something else we just got to look at right now as fights break out in the right side and the central bases on either side.
Yes, another base for a base. On top of Serral getting the top left. Eventually that lurker will tear that down. There's at least no mining there, that's for sure. The Broodlords, if they come back and help take care of the High Templars, that is usually their job. There they go. Sporepole is also being repositioned. This really is a game of patience. I mean, both of them could accept that it's going to go to, as you were pointing out, like just the pickoffs. Okay, eventually we're 15 minutes in, we're an hour in, and you just don't have enough of a bank because I've slowly picked you off. Like, it could get there. But, oh my god, it would be so much nicer if there's an explosive battle. That's what I want. I'm not gonna lie.
It's so dissatisfying after 40 minutes of casting that you just like, it's like, well, he did just slowly lose one carry at a time, guys.
Yeah, please, I don't want that to happen. Mothership is once again abducted. The feedbacks are on the right side. Oh,
that's the double abductor.
Well, he's got spore crawlers aplenty to soak up energy, and Serral is now taking control of both of those. I think I was right saying the 8th bases, but yeah, once you give up a base in this type of game where you both are very hesitant to go at each other's armies, this could be important. This could be the entire base of minerals and gas, not able to replace your carrier losses or your corruptor losses, I guess, if DnS were to take them back. But It feels like Serral's making just a little bit more edgeway, you know? Like, he kind of seems to be doing it maybe a little bit better. I'm waiting for the actual fight to see if that, heavily becomes lopsided.
Yeah, I feel like you just can't really pull anything without the overall fight, right? Like, I mean, DnS and Serral basically have the same banks now. It 100% comes down to how this fight goes. High Templar is zoning out the Vipers. And, I mean, Serral takes down this base here. Voider is going to deny the right side. Obviously, the left side wasn't allowed to go up either. So, I mean, there's just bits and pieces happening everywhere. I feel like even this Voider going down right now is, is that little thing which isn't expensive yet, but it all adds up. The things which you kind of throw at your opponent to be able to slow these bases down. And DnS threw like a lot of DTs at Serral this game as well, right? 22 DTs over time has definitely added up also as a big cost to pay for shutting down bases and little bits of mining here and there.
Yeah, for sure. It really wasn't adding up though. It was like 3 DTs maybe at a time, if not, maybe just 1 or 2. Of course, in this game, the other best of 3 finalized. We got Goblin beating Product, which is not too surprising. As Protoss is doing well in other games. I don't know about this one. DnS does need to win this to actually have a chance to take down Serral. I mean, it's still be pretty cool to at least have a map score, a bit of a difference against a guy like Serral. Like, I did get a map and no one else did. That would be pretty cool, but
if
DnS
wins
the end
series,
for DnS.
Like, DnS is like bottom of this group right now, right? Like, or like he's close to the bottom.
Yeah.
Like, a win against Serral almost revitalizes his chances here, because we were talking about DnS today, probably looking to be 1-4 at the end. You win, you're 2-3 with Serral out the way. It's a very different story.
It is. It's just, and it's so funny. The next map is Submarine. Like, theoretically, if DnS wins this, it's going to be the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought today was going to be a short day, but DnS and Serral have truly tried to prove us wrong. But as I said, it looks like Serral is just the one who's actually getting something done. First, it was the middle base. Now it's the right middle base, although it's already mined out. It's still a problem. DnS might be denying Serral's outlying bases, but he's not getting them up himself. He's down to 9 workers, so I talked about that army situation a couple minutes ago. Now it's flipped. DnS has 20 more army supply. That's 22 carriers with 2 more on the way and 6 voiders. It's most of his army. It's almost entirely his army.
Yep, I mean, that is his army plus the 3 High Templar in the mothership, right? So it's pretty sizable. And there's Serral. Obviously, Serral's advantage is the fact he's got spore crawlers as well, right? He's got 54 spores to help him out. So that's something else to think about. It also means that Serral, of course, doesn't want to fight, but he doesn't have his spores, so he's going to be pretty much limited to his own creep spread when it comes to wanting to take these larger fights as well. So a lot to keep in mind. There's the Broods, which is just a moment late to catch some of those probes. And we'll turn and pick off this hatch, or pick off this Nexus from going up once more again, denying DnS any further economy than what he's already got himself set up for. Because those are like more or less the last probes of the game. That was the last probe of the game.
Literally, he is maxed out on pure army. If he just makes a couple more carriers, he's finally going to go for the fight. I'm not sure he sees an opportunity. It just is, it's time. He's got to try. And, well, he's already taken out a couple of spore crawlers, but it looks like Serral is going to try and take this fight as slowly as possible. A couple of fungals go down, maybe some parasitic bombs as DnS desperately tries to split. It is chaos right here. The Corruptors find an angle to the left to catch 1 carrier and abduct on another one. That wasn't exactly the most explosive fight, actually. And the mothership even goes down. That did not go, at the end of the day, in favor of DnS.
No, he lost a lot, right? He has to go into a lot of reproduction. I mean, as does Serral, but look at Serral's bank at the end of this. He's got 3k or 2.5k more gas as they both, I guess Serral isn't remaxed yet. He's actually supply blocked because he'll kill the prison to the top side. I actually saw DnS warp in some store because I wonder what they're about. Kind of feels like that was almost like, it feels like that was almost like a desperation, like, oh my god, I need to make units and like go. Like, go for my follow-up, but yeah, then he decided not to. Not yet, at least. He does get Blink, so maybe that's his plan eventually.
Yeah, I guess he's going to try and basically tech swap. Nope, he canceled that idea. He's killing the stalkers. He's like, nah, it's not going to work. I do see that. I get it. Like the whole, like, well, they have a lot of corruptors, so maybe. And then you think for longer than 2 seconds and you go, nah, it's not going to work. So Blink, I guess maybe he's not going to bother canceling it, but he is... The best case scenario is that he has literally an entire StarCraft 2 supply worth of army. 200 army is about to happen right here. Yeah. And Serral can't take it on, but he can slowly pick it off.
I like these Archons. I think they're really nice to get underneath the fight. The only problem is there are still Broodlords up, right? So there's 9 Broodlords. I don't see the Archons getting much of a chance to like get amazing shots off or anything. So nice idea, just doesn't really work with the fact that Serral has Brood still. If there's a no Brood army, then I can kind of get behind that as well. Maybe that's kind of part of the reason for the Stalkers as well. Like you just realize like you're not quite going to get enough done when there's still Broods in the sky. That's a very tough call to make, as we are actually on 200 army supply.
It doesn't happen too often. I actually don't remember the last time I've seen this. Maybe a Heart of the Storm game, actually. I'm not sure I've seen Legacy of the Void. Even like the Fist of Neeb, or that meta where it seemed like Scarlet and Neeb constantly were like late game each other. I don't think that ever happened then. It's been a while. DnS just leaning into it, not bothering to try and take the Nexus to the left or the right, not trying to replace his probes. Full on army, but he keeps on getting outmaneuvered. I mean, I guess the real problem for DnS is that he can't actually stick it to Serral. He can't force Serral to be in a position and just have to defend. Serral can always just run away from prismatic alignments, run away from the storms, run away to get more energy. And DnS, he can try and chase after it, but when Serral has, basically the entire map soon enough, how do you run after the entirety of the Zerg without losing a base race or just getting picked off with your carriers?
I mean, his High Templar have been out of position so much as well. How many times now have we seen like just a couple carriers getting abducted? That shouldn't be as easily done or as cheaply done with the High Templars on the map, but they're just out of position multiple times, and a little bit of extra finesse from Serral, which is just allowing him to get free pickoffs. He's basically withered away like 2,000 gas off his opponents without even having to take like a larger fight again. And this is just that continued as we see Agaria, Void Ray is being abducted in. And I mean, this next fight might be about to break out. In all honesty, the High Templar don't have any energy, so these Vipers, can come in for another abduct. And there goes the mothership. Well, yeah.
What do you do against someone who does this? I mean, let's even say that he has enough High Templars to feedback every single Viper, because that's a bit of a problem right now too. He has to like pick and choose, store more feedback, and also 4 feedback to 6 Vipers. Even if he did, the problem is that it seems like every time he's in range, he's not in range of literally everything. There's always one Viper that just needs to get close enough to cast the spell, and it doesn't get... I mean, maybe if you could cancel an abduct, like, I don't know, but it's not really working out. Serral is picking him off patiently, and since we are at that point where they both don't necessarily care about the ground situation, the base situation, it's not like Serral, again, is being pushed back to a place he can't escape from. DnS, if he could actually catch this up against the wall, I think would do so much better, but he can't. Now his High Templar is getting fungled. The Broodlords are on top of it. That is a loss of his High Templars, one that he can replace, but not forever.
Yeah, man, this army's just going to go for this, but the fungal growths are going to slow it down, so obviously Serral can get away. Parasitic bombs as well. This Protoss army's just going to blow up Zombie Grub. It's not far away from happening as the Voids are all dying, and you can just see the health bars are just draining so quickly. And Serral, he has to rebuild 7 Corruptors, while DnS drops 50 plus supply. He's slow warping in 13 High Templar right now, somewhere on the map, but, well, after carrier goes down, and these Corruptors are going to do the job for Serral after 40 minutes.
Yep. That is an 100 army supply lead, despite DnS being fully maxed out.